y'all, it's Sid, and today I'm back to share with you my how I found out I was pregnant story. Alright guys, so as I said, I want to share with you my how I found out I was pregnant story, and share with you guys some of like the things that I experienced as symptoms that kind of, now that I look back, I'm like, oh yeah, that was kind of a symptom of pregnancy, because when I first found out I was pregnant, I did not know I was pregnant. Like, I wasn't expecting to be pregnant and I wasn't trying to be pregnant, and so there are some things looking back that at the time I didn't really realize was like a pregnancy thing. And I also feel like I had some kind of odd pregnancy symptoms that like I just don't hear people talking about a lot, so I'm kind of curious to hear if other people can relate, like if you've been pregnant before and you experienced that and you know it just doesn't get talked about a lot, or also B, like wanting to share it in case somebody else happens to have the symptom and like didn't know it was a symptom either. But yeah, so obviously right now I am fairly far along in my pregnancy. I'm 32 weeks, but I did find out I was pregnant around 5 weeks. I think it was like a day before 5 weeks pregnant, and yeah, so let's see where to even start. So I'm 20 years old, I'm doing my thing, I'm like working, going to school, all of this stuff, and I have been dating a guy for a while. I'm not gonna like super go far into this, we are not together right now, but I have been dating a guy for about 2 years, and again, like not trying to be pregnant, not wanting to get pregnant at all. Like I had no idea when I found out that I was pregnant that I was pregnant. But yeah, so like all of that kind of had been happening, just living my life. And I remember the first thing that I really remember thinking that was kind of weird was that I was at work, and I work like at a retail place, and we have like obviously our back room, and there's like totes that you have to like lug around and stuff like that if you're putting stuff out. And so I was going to like pick up a tote and put it somewhere else or do something with it, and I specifically remember thinking like, man, like my back kind of hurts. And that's weird for me. I know for some people back pains and like body pains and stuff like that are kind of common, but for me it's just never been a thing I've experienced. I've never had back pain before, and so I remember thinking that's really strange. And it wasn't something that like persisted a lot. I do remember having it for like a couple days and just thinking, man, like what, like I haven't worked out recently, like I haven't done anything that I can really think that would have made my back hurt, but like here we are. So I didn't really think about it, and after a couple days it did kind of go away. So again, like kind of continue living my life. And then I remember having this, I call it a nasal drip. I don't know, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, but a lot of people don't know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. So what I'm talking about is like, you know how when you have like a cold and your nose is really stuffy and you go to swallow, this is so gross, and you go to swallow and you have like just mucus that like comes down with it, or like snot, but it like comes down with it, like down your throat, and you can just feel it, and you're just like, I know it's like draining there. I had that, but I just thought it was really strange because I didn't have a runny nose, I didn't have a cold, I wasn't sick, nothing was wrong. And I've never had allergies in my whole life. Like my brothers have had allergies, like I know what allergies look like. I've been around people who have dealt with them, and I have never had allergies. And so when I said that to my parents, because I remember this happening for like a week straight, and I was like, this is strange, like I feel completely fine except for that I have this nasal drip, and it's getting kind of annoying, to be honest. And I remember going to my mom and asking her, because she is a nurse, and I was like, well, maybe she'd know like what this is, or like why this is happening. And so I asked her about it, and she was like, I mean, it's probably fine, like if you have problems, because they actually were, I think they were leaving like the next day for a cruise, or no, they were leaving in a couple days for a cruise, I think. Anyways, and so she was like, well, you know, if you have any more problems and like we're not around to like ask about it, like here's the doctor's number, but like you should be fine, like if you feel fine, you should be fine. And I remember my dad being like, Cindy, that's allergies, like you have allergies, take an allergy medicine, like medicine, pill. And I was like, Dad, I'm not doing that. Like, I don't have allergies. I've never had allergies. Like, there's no reason for me to think that this is allergies. Because again, like, that was all I was having. It's not even like I was having allergy symptoms. I wasn't having runny eyes. I didn't have any kind of congestion or sneezing or coughing or itching, like nothing. And so I just remember mentioning that and that being like a weird thing. I also remember thinking that it was weird because I used to get worse acne around the time that I would start my period, which I did get, but I was getting it more on my body. Like, I'd never had like back acne, or like I found like a pimple on my arm and like my neck and stuff like that, and I was like, that's kind of gross. Like, I've never had acne on my body before, so I dealt with that, and then this all happened before I missed my period. So I had been expecting my period around that time. Like, I think that happened like a week or two before my period came. And so I have an app on my phone, like a period tracker, and it's always been very consistent and like correct for me, within like a couple days. And so I remember the day came, that it said I was supposed to start my period and I didn't. And then I wasn't worried at all. Like, I didn't think anything of it. And then I remember the next day came and didn't start my period, and the next day, and I started thinking it was kind of weird, but again, like, I've always had very consistent periods, and I can like specifically remember that there's only been like 2 times in my whole life where I've gone any later than like 3 or 4 days late. Like, I've always started, the latest, long story short, the latest I've ever started is 5 days late. So I was like, okay, this is kind of strange, but I'm not gonna get like worried. I've always, you know, like, there have been times when I've gone like a couple days late, and like I've been up to 5 days late, so if I get to 5 days late and I still haven't started, I'm going to get a pregnancy test. But there's no reason to worry right now. Like, there's no reason to think that I am pregnant. And so I didn't. I just went about my life, and then I got to day 5 and I still hadn't started my period, and I thought, this is really strange. And so my parents had left for their cruise, and I remember my brother and I got together, because I still live at home and so does my brother, and my brother and I got together because I had worked all day, and we went out to eat, and like that night. And I remember thinking, well, if I'm going to take a pregnancy test, I don't want anyone to know, and I'm not going to tell anyone that I'm taking this test. No one had any idea. And so I said, well, you know, with my parents being gone and it just being me and my brother at home, like, this is a good time to take it. So after we ate, I told my brother I was gonna go to the store for something, and he was just like, oh, okay, like, he didn't really think anything of it. So I told him I was going to the store, and I stopped by the store and I got a pregnancy test, which people, I feel like a lot, because I've watched these videos before, like how I found out I was pregnant, and I feel like a lot of people don't mention how like awkward it can be to have to go in and buy a pregnancy test. Like, I was so nervous the whole time, because I was like, I'm gonna see somebody here that I know, and they're gonna see that I have a pregnancy test in my hand or something like that. And like, I went to a place that had self-checkout, so I just did the self-checkout, but I'm like, I was terrified of the thought of having to like go through the line and like check out with the cashier, which like, I know they really don't care, but like at the same time, like, I don't know, I just felt really awkward and like weird about it and like secretive, and I was like, oh. So but I went and I obviously got the pregnancy test, and it was a pack of 2, it was like the clear blue or whatever, and I literally just kind of like ran back to the section, because I knew they were right next to like the women's sanitary stuff, and I just kind of grabbed one and I checked it out and I left. So I came home and I was like, well, I don't really know like where I would be if I was pregnant, but I do know that they say it's best to use first morning urine. I know that a lot of the tests say now that like if you've missed your period or you're like a couple days past your period, it doesn't really matter if you use first morning urine, because you have enough of whatever like chemical or like hormone or whatever that it's testing for that it should pick it up anyway. But I was like, I'm just gonna chill and I'm just gonna wait, and I'm just gonna take it in the morning. Because at this point I'm still telling myself, like, Cindy, you're being silly, like, you don't need a pregnancy test, you don't need to go out and buy this, you're like wasting your money on this because it doesn't matter, like, you're not gonna be pregnant. But it was like just more of a precautionary thing in my brain. I was like obviously more nervous, but it was still not one of those things where I'm like, oh crap, I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant. And so I waited until the next morning, and I got up early, and my brother wasn't up yet, and I went, my parents live like, well, my parents' bedroom is like across the house from me and my brother's, and so I went to their bedroom and their bathroom so that like he wouldn't hear me. And I like took out the test, and I read the whole instruction thing, and I'm like kind of breathing heavy because I'm a little bit nervous, but at the same time I'm like, Cindy, it's fine, like, you're gonna be fine, there's no reason to be worried, like, you're being silly to even take this test, even though I knew like I needed to. And I peed in a little cup, and I stuck the pregnancy test in the cup, and then I took it out, and I put it down on the counter, I put the cap back on or whatever, put it down on the counter, and I went and I sat on the ground like across the bathroom from it, because I was like, I don't want to watch. It's supposed to show the results within like 3 minutes, but I think it shows it honestly earlier than that for the most part. And I was like, I don't want to watch, I want to see it, I don't want to like think about this. So by this point I'm like shaking, which again, like, I'm still at the point where I'm like, I don't think I'm pregnant, or I like, you know, I know it's a possibility, but I'm like, I don't think so. But it's still scary to like be taking this test and like know that this test holds the answer to like the future of your life, you know what I mean? Like, either you are pregnant and your life is completely changed forever, or you're not pregnant and it's the same as kind of where it was before. And like, to have that be even in question or like even a possibility is like scary. And so I put on my timer on my phone, and I like went on Instagram or something, and I was like looking around, and I was like, I don't want to think about it, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. And so finally I went back to the timer, and it had been like 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and I was like, okay, it's fine. So I like get myself up, and I walk over to the counter, and I look down, and I see, I haven't even looked at what the comparison is, because the pregnancy tests that I've seen before have had like the 2 little lines if you're pregnant, or it's just like 1 line. So I read through the directions, but I guess I just didn't pay like particular attention to the fact that like it was gonna be like a cross if you were pregnant, and then just a line if you weren't. So I saw a little cross, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I like look over, because like right beside it they had a box of like, if you're not pregnant it will look like this, like on the test itself. And I'm glad that it did, because I wasn't even thinking, I was expecting to see like a line or 2 lines. And so I saw a little cross, and then I saw like the not pregnant box that had just like the 1 line and it didn't have a cross, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I literally just stopped, and I put it down on the counter, and I just stared at myself in the mirror, and I was literally in such shock, and I was like, there's no way. I was like, there's no way. And I started pacing back and forth across the bathroom, and I said, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And I just like kept repeating that in my head as I was like pacing across the bathroom, and I was just like staring, and I was like, there's no way, there's no way. And then I was still pacing, and I switched to thinking, I put my hands on my stomach, and I was like, there's something inside of me. Like, there's something inside of me. There's something growing inside of me right now. And I was terrified, and I was in such shock, and I just felt like frozen. Like, I was pacing, but I felt frozen. Like, I couldn't think. I couldn't like process anything. I was like, oh my gosh, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm pregnant. And like, a lot of people say that they have to take multiple tests, but I trusted this test. I was like, if it's picking up this hormone, like, this hormone would not be in my system if I wasn't pregnant. And so in my brain, like, I wasn't like, oh, it's wrong, there's no way that this is right. Like, I mean, in my brain I was like, there's no way that this is right, but I knew that the test wasn't like screwed up or anything. Like, I knew it was right. And yeah, so that's how I found out I was pregnant, and it took a good day or 2 at least to really like process through and like I don't want to say accept. I like accepted that I was pregnant from the beginning. I knew that I was, and I wasn't like, I feel like accept means that I was like super horrified and disappointed and sad, and like in a way I was, but I also like wasn't. I don't know. There's like a whole lot to that story. If you want to know how like people reacted when I told them, or like kind of what I did after that, I can make another video about that, just let me know. But like, I don't know, it took me, like I said, it took me a couple of days to like process and really be able to be like, I'm pregnant, like, oh my gosh, like that's true, like I'm saying that and it's a true thing, it's like not a lie. But yeah, because I was in such shock. I really just didn't see it coming, and I had so many emotions. It was insane. But yeah, so that is the story of how I found out I was pregnant. I didn't have a lot of like the normal early pregnancy symptoms. I had those weird kind of symptoms that I've never really heard before, especially the nasal drip. That literally, that's another thing I talked about in my earlier videos. I've never dealt with anything like that before, or like heard of anybody who has, but man, like that lasted my whole first trimester. It was miserable. It made me feel sick all the time. But anyway, yeah, so that is pretty much it for my story. Again, if y'all have any questions, if I missed anything, or if you just have anything more specific that I didn't address, let me know. If you have any other videos you want me to do, let me know. And thanks for watching, and I was, ooh, he just moved. I don't think you'll be able to see it, but he just rolled around right in there. But anyways, I'll see you guys later. Bye.